How we doing, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of FSI's PGA DFS Pick Show. I'm your host, TK Nation 47, joined with John Cool 19. John, welcome back. It is good to see you. I'm hoping everyone is happy and healthy in the John Cool household. Did you play any DFS last week, and how you feeling?
I mean, we discussed in advance that I was going to go super light based on just the event, kind of the field being so top heavy, all that. I ended up breaking even on a very light bankroll for me. It's nice to not be as invested in the event this week, be able to just get healthy. COVID bug came through the house this week. So I'm glad we're all recovering and getting back to normal if we can, just kind of getting past the restrictions put on us versus just being sick. So, yep, ready to get back at it. Super pumped for this week. Very different event this week than what we saw last week. But yeah, really excited to get into it. Were you able to catch much of the RBC Canadian Open?
Oh, yes. I was glued to the broadcast forecast. We were just looking at weather. I was glued to the broadcast on Sunday. I couldn't get enough of the scenes in Canada. Canada showed up. It was awesome to see the 18th hole, Rory getting stormed on the course. To see Rory, Finau, and JT go at it just was really super cool. And that is why we love the PGA Tour. And we're not going to be, Live Tour rules guys here on the PGA FSI video. Live Tour can suck it. It's exhibition golf. It gives me nothing. PGA Tour gave me electricity my entire life, and I'm going to be devoted to that. So here we are. We got the U.S. Open coming in here with another national event. This one at the Country Club in Brookline, Massachusetts. If you're wondering what the heck's going on behind me, it is the Francis Ouimet House, winner of the 1913 U.S. Open at the Country Club, the only amateur to ever win the U.S. Open. So if you haven't seen it, the movie, The Greatest Game Ever Played, it is on Disney Plus, in case you were wondering. I watched it yesterday. I'm a sucker for that movie. I'm a sucker for Shia LaBeouf, one of my favorites. So anyway, John, tell us about the course and what we're going to expect here at the 122nd U.S. Open.
Sure. Just like you said, we are at the Country Club at Brookline. This is just outside Boston in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. The course sets up as a par 70, 7,200 yard. It is bent and POA grass greens, a bit of a mix here this week. So put both into your model if you're doing that. A couple things about the course you need to know. These are extremely small greens, some of the smallest that they will see on tour all year long. The rough, as always at the U.S. Open, very, very thick. They have it set up this week, so for very difficult scoring. That's the way the U.S. Open likes it. That's the way it will be again this week. I do not expect to see a score in the teens like we've seen over and over the last handful of weeks. Even on tough events, the golfers are getting into the teens. Just kind of a trend in the PGA Tour, just being able to hit the ball longer, cut more corners, that sort of thing. We'll see some of that this week, but honestly, there's so many hazards here that golfers are going to get into. They don't want that. And the one being the rough, second one being these chocolate drops. On the back of my screen here, they're on the side of the green here. Basically, there's like rock piles underneath the grass. They just built the grass right over the rock piles. And if you are wayward off the tee and you land in those drops, the ball could be 2 feet below your feet. It could be above, it could be on this hill. You might be the teardrop or the chocolate drop between you and your ball. All kinds of things could happen. Plus the bounces. And when the ball comes into those areas, it can bounce any direction at all. You're going to be hitting some crazy lies. And really, even in the fairways here, you're going to have lots of like rolling hills, kind of like the Masters. So ups and downs, some undulations all over the place. We're going to see a lot of guys that hit the fairway and have it roll out into the rough, just because it's so hilly. And that's just kind of the topography of the area here. Lots and lots of rocks, lots of kind of fescue type grass. You're going to see that all over the place. So really, really interesting. There's not tons of water. There is a lot of sand, especially around the greens. Golfers are going to be missing greens constantly because they're so small, but also because there's the sand traps there are going to eat the balls up. We absolutely need to put sand saves into our modeling this week. Focus on around the green game. The off the tee, we need golfers on this course, it looks like, to be long off the tee. The distance is going to be very important, but at the same time, we need accuracy too. As golfers are missing that long rough, it's going to be really, really difficult to get to the green in two on some of these longer par fives. Since it is a par 70, we're not looking, I said long par fives, long par fours. There's only two par fives here. They're not really that important. I don't see them scoring very much on either of these. One out of the two is going to be a little bit easier than the other, but really I'm not focusing on par five scoring at all. Par three scoring, it looks like it's going to be really, really tough to score on par threes. So I'm going to put that in my modeling just a little bit, get some golfers who might be able to make more birdies there. I mentioned the off the tee game being important, but really accuracy off of your long irons as well. I think we're going to see a lot of 175 and 200 plus approach shots coming in this week. Scrambling, and then we were looking at the weather conditions. It looks like there could be a little bit of wave advantage. I think no matter what you do on that, you need to plug some shots gained windy conditions into your modeling, at least a little bit. Guys like your Lowry, we went through a bunch of them. It's a lot of the top of the leaderboard here, a top of the pricing as some of the best golfers when it comes to gaining strokes in difficult conditions, and we definitely need that this week. Bogey avoidance is going to be one of the top things in my model as well. Very, very difficult course. So I think that's probably about it. I'm really excited to see the course on TV. It looks absolutely awesome in the preview videos. So I'm really stoked to see them get out there and hit around this very unique course. They haven't played here since 1988 on the PGA Tour. That was a U.S. Open event. You mentioned back in the 30s. I think they've been here just 3 times for the U.S. Open, but they did also host the 2013 U.S. Amateur. Bunch of golfers that were amateurs then are pros now. Some of the guys at the top of the leaderboard then are at the top of the pricing, and DraftKings now some really good golfers. So definitely take a look there if you're looking for some guys who played here before.
Yeah, definitely. And, there isn't going to be a direct correlation of who finished there in 2013, but it's just nice to know that they have good memories here. The United States Amateur Championship's a big deal. So a lot of thought and process went into playing that golf course in that time frame. That was 9 years ago. So, I mean, there could be some crossover. Fitzy already tweeted out, a lot of good memories here. So I'm sure he feels a little bit of nostalgia coming back to the country club. I like everything that you displayed there, in all those preview videos I watched too, the flyovers and everything. There did look like there was some crazy fairway action. We do have the infamous fairway video of a ball. If it does go too far, it's going to roll right into some water. And that being on the right side, so you want to, or that being on the left side, you want to avoid left. But I mean, realistically, you just want to be able to make sure that you're hitting correct shots, right? Guys that can be accurate with their driver also can provide themselves with the necessary distance on the short par fours, to get themselves within striking distance with a wedge, and they're not having to use long irons the entire day, right? Because there is some short par fours that can be helpful to scoring. So there's some scoring holes, and there's some holes where you're definitely hoping for par. So just take what the golf course gives you is kind of going to be the mantra here for everyone. And I hope the golfers we pick are going to be the golfers that are finding their way to the top of the leaderboard. So without further ado, let's get into the picks. And my favorite of the week is going to be Xander Schauffele at 9,600. Definitely going to be part of the chalk. A lot of steam on Xander this week, but with good reason. He has the elite U.S. Open history. No worse finish than 7th in his career in 5 events. Just absolutely flawless when it comes to this style of golf. We always take Xander at places like the Farmers Insurance or Open, which is Torrey Pines. We took him at Torrey Pines last year, finished 7th. Just an elite golfer when it comes to these kinds of setups. Performed very well at Memorial. As we know, I went to Memorial. I got to see Xander for a couple of holes, finished 18th. Guy was stripping it with the irons, gained 7.5 with his iron play, 13th at the PGA Championship. We know how tough Southern Hills played, so it just all culminates into one big awesome play this week. That is Xander Schauffele. I'm not afraid of the chalk. I'm going to be different elsewhere. I think the 8K range is going to be a pivotal range when it comes to whether or not you're playing the high-priced owned golfers. And I think you can get really different down in the 7K range and make sure that you're not being eliminated from your large entry contests when you're already started with those playing all the high ownership plays.
Sure.
Your thoughts on Xander, and who is your favorite of the week?
Well, Xander's right up there as my favorite. He was the first guy that popped for me. He's not number one in my model. He actually ranks number 2 behind Rory McIlroy, but I like everything you said about Xander this week. He's been top 10 on approach in 2 out of his last 3 events. The irons, like you said, are just absolutely fantastic right now, and he's excellent out of the sand. Another thing to note for Xander, he's not just a no-cut specialist. Look at Xander this week. If you can get there in cash, I certainly recommend starting at Xander. He's a nice price there, $9,600. I tend to go a little bit cheaper, but 96 is not out of my price range when it comes to my cash line. So for me, though, favorite Rory McIlroy. He's number 1 in my model. Won last week. I did get to see Sunday for the last hour or 2 of the coverage. Super exciting. The fans there just were absolutely going nuts for Rory, chanting his name. I kind of felt bad for the other 2 golfers who needed to finish up, and it really wasn't even over. Finau still had a chance to birdie, and if Rory doesn't birdie there, then we go to a playoff hole, right?
I think Rory had to bogey and Finau had to birdie.
I mean, we were that close, and it was over before they even walked up to the green, according to the fans.
Right.
So that was really cool to see. Yeah, he won last week. He's been 4 top 10s in his last 5 events. The form is just excellent here for Rory. I think he's kind of been building up to a win. Unfortunately for us, it was last week and not this week, but I hit him in 1 and done last week. So I did get that first win under my belt there. Other things on Rory, he's been top 10 in each of his last 3 U.S. Opens. That's not quite Xander-esque, but he's definitely up there with the best of them in these tough events. He comes in number 1 on comp courses for me, number 2 in difficult scoring conditions, and he's just really, really good around the greens. 5th in his last 36 rounds. We know he's long off the tee, and then he comes in number 1 in proximity from 175 to 200. He makes a ton of greens as well. He's top 5 greens in regulation. So you could go on the stats here for Rory. He is a very, very good play. My only concern, we always say this, is the ownership at 10.5. He is looking to be the highest owned golfer above 10K. I think if you want to get really, really tricky, you can go Morikawa or Hovland here. Just a little bit cheaper. You're going to get probably like a third of the ownership on those guys. And really, Rory is excellent. Those guys are very, very good golfers. They are not far behind him. If they play this event 10 times, I bet both of those guys finish above him at least right around 5 of those times. You know, he's going to beat them half and lose to those guys half the time. So don't be afraid to drop down and play like a Morikawa Hovland.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we have, 2 guys up here that are going to be really high owned. Half the industry or more than half the industry is talking about how good of plays they are. If you want to get some GPP pivots, then we'll make a little plug here. You can sign up for with us at, on our website at FSIDFS.com or on our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS. We provide, a player pool that, has pivots that you can go to with, but these guys right here are just guys that we feel incredibly safe with. That's why we're making them our favorite plays. They're going to be core plays for us. So that's why we're talking about them here. Now we're moving on to some value plays that we feel really strong about. I think Sam Burns is going to be my guy here. I'll talk a little bit about a guy in that 8K range later. I know you may as well. But Burnsy here, 8,300, couple of wins in his last 5 starts, Valspar and the Charles Schwab Challenge, just an elite golfer, tee to green. Sam Burns, 20th on the approach, 18th in driving distance. Guy that can really stretch the ball far, and he is 31st in my favorite stat of the week, which is good drives gained. Good drives gained on Fantasy National is a stat that is, if you do not hit the fairway or you do hit the fairway, you still make it on the green from your lie, whether you're in the fairway or off the fairway. So being good in that stat meant a lot to my model. I weighted that really heavily in my model. I kind of made it a very balanced. Usually I have a lot of different, sliders on like approach and off the tee and a lot of strokes gain statistics. I actually balanced it out, make sure that I had a lot of weight towards, the around the green game, sand saves, as you mentioned, good drives gained, and putting. I put some of an emphasis on putting from 10 to 20 feet because I think a lot of guys are going to have to be making par putts from 10 to 15, 15 to 20 feet. That's just the reality of U.S. Opens. So I took a look at that and I weighted it in the model as well, scrambling as well. But anyway, back to Burns, fourth at the RBC Canadian Open. We saw him down the stretch. He looked like he had a shot to get in the mix, but Rory and JT just playing too good. And 20th at the PGA Championship at Southern Hills. Very tough course. And Burns he's just a winner. And if he's down there in the stretch on Sunday, I know he's going to be playing well. He's not a guy that fades on Sunday. He's a guy that excels in the moment. And that's kind of what I want to see in a U.S. Open because it's tough and guys can eject quickly. I don't think Burns is that kind of guy. So I love him at 8,300. And then Sebastian Munoz at 7,400. I have to talk about someone that's going to be low owned. I'm sure Burns is going to have ownership, but I don't think Munoz is going to have a lot of ownership. I think Davis Riley in that zone kind of sucks up all the ownership. And then there's Sungjae Im at 7,600, which is going to be everybody's favorite cash play this week. I think it carries over into GPPs. So that's why I'm going to go with Sebastian Munoz at 7,400. Don't think he can win, but I think he's going to be very live for top 30. And that's something that is very meaningful at the U.S. Open. Top 60 and ties makes the cut. That's a low low percentage of cut makers this week. And that's exactly what I'm hoping Munoz can do. Get me inside that top 30, help me fill out maybe some 5 of 6, 6 of 6 in my lineups with that value play. Sixth in the model, he's in really good form as well. I don't want to say what he's done over the past 13 events, but yeah, he hasn't done it. All right. Third at the Byron Nelson, as we know, he was that big first round leader. 39th at the Farmers, that's a tough track. 21st at the Genesis, that's a tough track. As recent as 25th last week. And at the PGA Championship at Southern Hills, he did make the cut. He only finished 55th, but he gained 3.2 on the approach. If he would have gained any strokes off the tee, Munoz would have been totally in it, at least inside that top 30. That's what I'm hoping. What are your thoughts on these two, and who are your favorite plays, or favorite value plays of the week?
Well, I do love both of these guys, and Burns, you mentioned it. He's just a winner. 2 wins in the last 5 events. You're not going to find guys at 8,300 that have won 2 out of their last 5 the rest of the season. I think, if we play next couple weeks with Burns and without some of these studs up top, he's a 10K guy. He really is, right, with this form coming in. If this wasn't the U.S. Open, it wasn't quite this heavy of a field or as deep of a field, he's a 10K golfer right now.
He's playing at least like 9-4. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I absolutely believe that he is a value at the 8,300. I'm playing Munoz this week as well. I certainly like that play. Also, everything you mentioned there. A couple guys that I gravitated to. We'll talk about Sungjae in a moment. He was the clear and obvious value play, in my opinion. But Max Homa is a guy, I've been playing him for quite a few weeks. I absolutely love what Max Homa has been doing lately. He's made his last 9 cuts on tour. 7 of those are top 20 finishes. He was 5th just at the Memorial a few weeks ago, and he has 2 wins in his last 15 events. So not quite Sam Burns, but he's playing super good golf right now. He excels in tough conditions. That's when he really is gaining the most on the field. He ranks 9th on comp courses for me in my modeling. And then he's the top 3rd of this field in putting on bent POA. He's not the best, but that's his best service is really POA. And then bent POA, he's, like I said, top 3rd. If I'm looking back at U.S. Open history, he's missed all 3 cuts. That's 13, 20, and 21 at this event. But each time, and really the last 2, his putter just completely let him down. He was terrible, lost a ton of strokes putting. I don't expect that to happen again. Plus, he's in much better form right now than he was a year ago or 2 years ago at this time. So I'm not super concerned on the U.S. Open history. I'm looking more on form for him. But his last 36 rounds, 5th on approach, 25th driving distance, 28th fairways gained, and he is top 15 in avoiding bogeys. A lot to like here for Max Homa. And then Sungjae Im, I think this is just kind of a misprice by DraftKings. Part of that may have been his layoff that he missed He missed the PGA Championship because
Yep.
of COVID.
COVID.
And then I think he missed a second event that he had to withdraw from either right before or after. He has come back since then, so we're not worried about any sort of illness or anything. I'm
Yeah, he's
thinking
fine.
that's what happened in their pricing because he missed the last major. He gets a bump down in price for whatever reason. The form, though, he's made 9 out of his last 10 cuts. We know he plays a ton of golf when he's healthy. He was 10th at the Memorial, 8th at the Masters recently, and then he has made 2 out of 3 cuts at U.S. Opens. That is 22nd and then 35th in last year's U.S. Open. He plays very, very well in windy conditions. The windier it gets, it seems like the better he is. So I'm not expecting it to be crazy windy all weekend, but he's going to play really well, even if you get him on a bad side of the wave. His last 36 rounds, 6th around the greens. He's 21st in fairways, 11th greens in regulation, and he is 4th avoiding bogeys. And I looked into just avoiding bogeys when conditions get worse and worse. He's still top 5 in that. So I absolutely will be playing Sungjae Im this week. I think he is pretty much a cash lock for me. But we'll see on the GPP because you're right. The ownership will bleed in there.
Yeah.
There are other golfers in the range that are really just as good as Sungjae, maybe a little bit more expensive, but I think you can find the money this week. There are so many good golfers here that you can find the money, a few $100 to jump up or down if you need.
Yeah, you definitely have to lock in Sanjay in cash games. That's going to be a big block because if you try to fade him in cash games and he doesn't miss the cut, in fact, he does really well, then you might as well kiss your lineup goodbye because there's going to be at least 50% ownership on Sanjay in cash games. So it's more or less a cash block. Love Homa too in cash games as well. Love everything that you said. I'll talk about him in a little bit. Mad Max is my guy this week. All right, moving into some sleeper picks. I'm going to go with the guy we haven't talked about in a very long time. Francesco Molinari, 6,900. He's in some decent form. The statistics won't tell you that. He is not a guy that's going to look fun on a model. Definitely don't think he's going to be, tops the model this week. It's all basically on U.S. Open history and a small run of form that he's in the last 24 rounds, I would say. He finished 18th, 26th at the Memorial, 55th at the PGA. That was a tough cut to make. He made it. And 17th at the Byron Nelson. So he did make a birdie fest as well. It tells me he's scoring on holes. 18th in my favorite statistic. That's that good drives gained. 33rd in scrambling. And then this is what I like the most here, this U.S. Open history. 13th, 16th. I mean, these are when Molinari wasn't at his best. He's still finishing that high. 13th at a long course like Torrey Pines. This is like 400 yards in difference between Torrey Pines and the country club. So, some of his shorter plotting ways are going to be beneficial to him. So I think he's definitely a type of golfer that you can attack in your GPPs this week. And 25th, miscut, 27th, 23rd. So dating back a long time to like 2014, Molinari has a lot of good top 30 finishes. And I think the recent form and some history in this type of golf really fits Molinari. Your thoughts on him, and tell me about your and I favorite sleeper of the week.
Yeah, it's rare that we both end up on the same sleeper just because there are so many golfers to choose from down in the kind of at 7K and below. But yeah, Brian Harman he popped for me. A few things I really liked here. The form is good. 18th at the Memorial. He has made a cut in 4 out of his last 5. That includes a top 10 at the Wells Fargo. He made the cut in his last 4 U.S. Opens, kind of like what you were saying with Molinari, the U.S. Open history, and that includes a runner-up in 2017 at Erin Hills. His last 36 rounds. He's not going to jump off the charts in any stat category, but he's above average in like all of the ones I'm looking at. 39th approach, 38th around the greens. He is 3rd in fairways gained, so we know he's finding the fairway a ton, and he's 3rd in sand saves, which we know is going to come into play this week. His issue is driving distance. He's 110th in the field there, but what we do know about Brian Harman is he's going to find fairways. He's going to play smart golf. Avoid some bogeys whenever possible here. He's not going to go out and shoot a 12 under this week on any one day or something, but I absolutely see Brian Harman having a great chance to make the cut this week and then maybe even make some noise. I would think a great bet for him would be like a top 30 If I could get that would be fantastic. But yeah, Brian Harman, I think, is a great option here at 7K. There's not a ton under that. I've started a few guys here on Fantasy National under 7K, but not a lot. I'm going to kind of focus on building a little bit more balanced lineups. As much as I want to take two studs right off the top, I don't know if that's a successful way to build a lineup this week. It forces you way too much into the 6K range.
Yeah, good call, man. I love Harman this week. Definitely was on my radar. Mentioned him in our group in our little chat, and you're like, "Oh, I got him as my sleeper." I was like, "Dang, really good play this week." So definitely both in on Harman. All right, moving on to our last slide. We have the one and done slide. I've been slipping a little bit. It's not due to missed cuts either. I'm just not getting the finishes I need to continue to climb. I've been dropping slowly, like 100 spots at a time. Although I'm getting. I had two back-to-back top 10s and I'm still dropping. That just goes to show how, winners really benefit from this one and done format. A lot of guys had Rory last week, and winning that much in the prize pool really just didn't do anything for me. But I'm going to go with Mad Max, your favorite value there in the 8K range. For all of the things that you said, Max just really excels on those harder courses. Winner of the Genesis Open, really tough track on Poa greens. So, and this year's Wells Fargo Championship, that was at the TPC Potomac in Baltimore, Maryland. So, right around the corner from Boston.
Yep. Great comp course if you're looking at it.
Yep. You're going to go with Max. You had told me a guy earlier in the week. It looks like you have changed. Who do we got?
Yeah. Who did I say earlier in the week?
Rom. I think it was Rom.
Yeah. Okay. So I did have Rom. Rom and Xander are probably my only two superstars left in.
I got Rory. That's
I've used everybody else. I've used absolutely everyone. I did get the Rory win last week. That bumped me about 500 spots, just shy of 500 spots in the standings. Actually, it might have been even more than that. Maybe about 700 spots, I think. So I will hope for another good week. I originally thought, Rom, he won me the U.S. Open last year, got over $2 million, and that really pushed me into the money for good for the rest of the season last year. Yeah. And what I did then, and I'm going to do it this week, is just trust the model. At first, I was like, I don't trust the model, but I do have Xander ranked over Rom this week in my modeling. I'm going to go with it and maybe use Rom here in the next few weeks. He still has a bunch of chances to win, and Xander does too, but I think Xander is the play this week.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, I love Xander, obviously. And I only have Rory left. That's my only super elite left. I'm probably just going to go with him at the Open Championship and hope he wins St. Andrews.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm just going to save him for that. And I'm just going to, take my shots at these lower level events with some guys that are maybe streaming, because even a missed cut at those events, it's not going to do much worse than finishing 40th.
15K for 50th place doesn't do much. You got to have those top 5 finishes. Otherwise, you're not really going anywhere, or you're not going up.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right. Well, this was good. A lot of good information here, guys. Please like this video. Comment below with any questions you might have. You can also follow us on Twitter at TKNation47. That is John Cool 19. Follow us on our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS and on our website for all of our cores. And then get into that Discord chat for the breakdowns in our player pool, all the projections, ownership projections. John Sheets already posted a lot of good info for you guys. You can find that in our Twitter handle at FSI_DFS. All right, guys. Thank you, John. Thank you. Hope you're feeling better, and I hope the throat clears up and everybody is feeling good in the house. But yeah, everybody enjoy one of my favorite events, the U.S. Open.
Sweet. Let's go win a milli this week.
That's right.
All right. Good luck.
See ya.